Hello and welcome to How to Stay Married So Far.
Nice to see you.
And you.
Yes, if you're listening on podcast, you can watch us if you want on YouTube, where Mark has given me a beautiful light that is making me look almost glamorous.
Well, you look. Thank you. Putting it down to my lighting, but it's actually probably more likely Simone, isn't it? That's giving you a face.
Oh, I thought you can say more likely that I am. Just
no, your natural radiance.
But anyway, we're going to talk about porn addiction.
I thought you'd never ask.
Mark loves talking about porn.
Well, no, but porn.
Do you think you've ever been a porn addict?
Well, hang on, you can't.
No, I want to get straight in there.
That's so premature.
No. I want to ask that one question, and I want a yes or a no, and that's all you need to say. Do you think you've ever had a period in your life where you may have been addicted to porn? You're an addict of everything else, so why would you not be of porn?
I'm not answering that yet, but I will answer it, so stay tuned. I saw an article a couple of weeks ago, and Nadia's done some subsidiary research since, and that's literally Pepper's arse that you can see next to me.
Our dog.
A cute arse. The subtle sign, and this was a piece in the Telegraph actually, that Tory graph. The subtle signs that your partner is addicted to porn, according to a sex therapist. And it did strike me. I thought, I don't think we've ever discussed porn on this. I mean, it may have come up as a sidebar.
No, we have.
No, but we've never gone head on. We've never done the money shot.
Oh, gross.
We haven't gone for the full facial.
Stop it. I'm not going to do this podcast with you if you're going to be like this. Right, get on with it.
Okay, so this is, and this is, as you would expect, it's quite an analytical piece by and an interview with Dr. Paula Hall, who is a sex therapist and founder of the Laurel Centre in the Midlands, which is a sort of therapeutic centre for people who have porn addiction and sex addiction too. Much of the article talks about how porn addiction has taken off in the last 20 years. Obviously, Pornhub, porn online, the free availability.
Just for people that might not know, what is Pornhub?
Well, Pornhub is like YouTube of porn.
Are you a member of Pornhub?
I've seen Pornhub.
Are you?
No, I'm not a member of Pornhub.
A member of Pornhub.
I can assure you, I'm not a member.
Do you have to pay to go on Pornhub?
You have to now. You now have to do ID for everything.
Have you ever seen anything on Pornhub?
Of course I have.
Why do you say, of course I have? Because I haven't.
Because if stuff comes up, it's usually with porn. I mean, for example, if you've ever seen, what's her face? The woman you like, Kim Kardashian sex tape, stuff like that.
Have you seen Kim Kardashian?
Yeah, I've seen it in all sorts of places.
Yes. Hang on. We're not rushing through this, Mark. If we don't get to the Telegraph,
yes,
we don't
I'm not rushing.
Article.
Yes, I've seen Kim Kardashian.
You have seen Kim Kardashian sex film, and you've never mentioned that to me.
Because I forget everyone has seen Kim Kardashian sex tape.
Because
everyone,
Mark,
everyone.
Mark, I have not seen Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, but you're the only person I know that hasn't.
Right. If you are someone that also has never seen Kim Kardashian's sex video, could you please mark... Right, now I want to get into this. So, where were you? What was happening just before?
Yeah,
what
this
did
is
you
decades
search
ago.
for?
Well, before jumping on me like a SWAT squad, I'm literally being harassed by how many schnapps of all the episodes to do. This isn't the right one. Porn across the years was magazines. Mm-hmm. I've talked many times about the idea that, a page would come in from a magazine blog. So, but it's important to stress that porn, to look at porn or to get porn, I remember with a work colleague years ago, I must have been 17. I could say his name, I've just remembered his name, but I won't. I remember spying a porn rag, as you would call it, porn magazine, and you would literally have the embarrassment of going in, reaching to the top shelf, buying it, and all that kind of stuff. And it's the reason I want to go into that in some detail is the layers of difficulty, the layers of self-loathing that you had to engage with in front of other people to just go through the process of it. And stick with me on this, because I remember when we bought that mag, me feeling like, especially having grown up in a sort of feminist house and what have you, and this guy had said, let's get a porn mag, and we got a porn mag. I remember feeling like I'd betrayed all women. So my experience of porn is very difficult, different to many men's. I felt like I had a guilt relationship. I've always had a guilt relationship slightly with porn. But when we bought this magazine, you had to go through the process of picking it, who will see you in the shop, going to the guy in the shop, that embarrassment. It's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? Usually, as well, you're buying it from people. I mean, you know, who maybe are culturally different, and so you've got that thing. I vividly remember these feelings. And then as you're walking home, you feel like you've got hot property on you. You felt like, oh my God, what if I get hit by a car? You know, suddenly there'll be me on the floor with a porno. So all of those barriers have just gone. And in the last year and a half, I think it was a year ago, they introduced the whole kind of age verification thing, which has had a massive impact on the ability and free availability of people to get porn. And apparently, oh God, this first fly of the year, guys.
Apparently most 12-year-olds have seen, I'm just going to take the lead off the dog.
So yeah, as I was saying, so now it's very, very difficult. But anyway, so the trajectory was a page of porn at school, a magazine or the occasional rag mag off the top of a thing, often with an element of dare to be shared amongst blokes, and finally living with a guy who had VHSs of porn. And then you'd sometimes go to parties and be like, oh my God, they've got a porn video, and it would go on and you'd all laugh.
But what was that porn like? Fairly soft porn or hard
Yeah,
porn?
well, relative to what you hear, there is available online, yeah.
Can you remember the first porn video you saw? As a kid? What age?
I mean, one of the...
Because the world will have us think that it really is only the kids of today that are seeing this stuff.
I don't want to go into it in detail, but I also don't want to not mention this because it has to inform my experience around porn. And I also know she doesn't watch it. I unfortunately came across a lot of porn when I was too young. So, and that, it didn't take a genius to relate it to the adults that were in my life. So that was quite challenging. And that was, you know, at the time, it was like, I found it with the same... Oh my God, I think I talked a couple of weeks ago about Edwin and his dad and, you know, all that. But also, you know, what I found, it was shocking. So I'd seen explicit imagery at a very young age. So when I came across, when the first so when I think of it, I'm not going to name names of people that I used to hang out with, but I mean, I remember someone having a couple of VHSs, and yeah, they were in the flat and you would watch them. But it was the kind of porn you would see if you go to a hotel in France and it's on one of the channels that the hotel allows to run. And I often use that as a sort of, probably wrongly, barometer of, you know, that sort of like sanctioned porn, isn't it? If a hotel chain is showing it in a room.
Must be okay.
Yeah, and that was also something else, another area in which a lot of people and a lot of men I know would see porn would be on business trips, which is a big part of it all for men, you know, going abroad. Whenever I was abroad, you'd get the porn channel, you'd have a quick look. And there was that's a certain type of, it was explicit, but it wasn't kinky or it wasn't odd or it wasn't illegal. No, I know, but it obviously wasn't illegal. Otherwise there wouldn't be broadcasting. Yeah, exactly.
I actually feel quite sad because this has really come up for me now. I mean, God, you know, strike me down to use the word triggered, but I am actually feeling quite triggered, and I really hate the overuse of that word.
Oh, sorry.
But no, it's not your fault. But it's a surprise.
Oh.
Because I realised that my earliest experience of pornography was child sexual abuse, 100%. As I'm sat here.
Oh.
And I know I've thought about this before.
What material you saw was that?
No, that it was a relative,
I see.
A family relative, who gave me a massive pile of magazines.
Oh my God.
I was probably about 13.
Right.
And
Christ.
Because he gave me these, and I was staying with him at the time, I just thought, what did I think? That it was all right? Because I was just reading them a lot. And then he would like laugh and go, oh, so you like that. And when I think about that now, if I think if that was my daughter's, I would kill it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sweetie, sorry.
Let's be sorry.
Well, no, sorry for you. I'm not linked.
No, but I was just thinking about it, and I was thinking about, the shame that comes with that, isn't it? It's that weird thing with porn. Probably the same with you when you discover it in your mom's flat.
It was less put
and
in
there's
front
that
of me.
weird thing where you are, you know, there will be sexual awakening with that exposure to it. but at the same time, the shame comes in, and you don't really understand why you should be ashamed, and that's because it's a hidden thing. Like my mum and dad had never given me magazines like that, and then here was this bip giving me magazines, and a massive pile of magazines.
Wow.
And would chuckle as if,
But can I just,
creep.
I mean, on that, I mean, again, because there's no one fixed story. I mean, I've often shared the story of my first girlfriend buying me a French porn mag. That was my first magazine I ever had myself, and it was bought for me by Jane. And I must have been, and that actually opened my eyes to, it was more erotica. There was no men in it. It was just naked women, and it was all very French. They all looked like Beatrice Dalle, and they had sort of always, it's funny, I remember the sort of, the makeup as much as I remember the kind of everything else. But the weird thing about that was, going back to what you've just said about your experience, when I then met a relative of hers a couple of years later, this relative of hers kept a stash of pornography under the chair that he sat on when she visited him. And it was very normal for him to sit there and read it.
In front of her?
Yeah. And I remember thinking, when I was many years older, thinking...
That was weird.
Well, not only was that weird, but then something that I thought was quite sexy and a frisson and innocentish that she'd given me herself was the consequence of an upbringing she'd had in which she'd seen a man she was related to just sit and suddenly...
Men like this.
And suddenly you sort of think, oh my God, I actually received it quite innocently and sort of erotically, but actually, again, it was born out of the same thing that you've just described.
Oh, I'm just sitting here thinking, I wonder if he used to look at me in the room and...
Oh my God, babe.
Oh my God, I feel sick. But anyway, so it says here, is it linked to relationship problems, right? The use of addiction.
The use of porn.
The use of porn addiction. For adolescents, it becomes even more harmful. Early exposure is associated with earlier sexual encounters, first sexual encounters, greater willingness to have casual sex, multiple partners, lack of condom use, teen pregnancies, STIs, the connection between early days porn. And because what it does is, you know, it releases dopamine, and as we know, that can be highly addictive. So if you're somebody like with ADHD, like we are, and you're low in dopamine, that addiction can come in very early because it's not just about sex, it's about that chemical response in your brain, because MRI scans show reduced grey matter in the striatum among people who use porn often. When use is compulsive, the brain sees it as a drug. You need it to make it through the day. And people with compulsive sexual behaviours show brain activation similar to drug addicts when they encounter sexual triggers or stimuli.
Okay, well, in the light
You
of...
think that most children in this country now will have seen porn by the time they're
Yeah,
12?
but can I, just to be devil's advocate for a minute, seeing porn and being addicted to porn are two deeply distinct things.
No, it's regular. But they say here even occasional use of porn.
No, absolutely. But going back to the question that you started with, what was it? Have you ever been addicted to porn? I have never, honestly, hand on heart, lived for any period of my life where I've had a craving, or my day is incomplete, or my mood, or my mood is lost, or my ability to accomplish any normal tasks in my life has been altered by my inability to access or see porn. So
Why
to
is
that extent, no. Well,
because you are an addict of everything.
well, I'm going to be brutally honest, because I think I've had very highly sexed relationships throughout my life.
I don't think that marries it.
Well, it might not for most people, but I think certainly when I think of like the wilderness years, or the years where I was kind of on my own, but in very sort of short-term relationships, I was looking at, I mean, I had a friend who had VHSs, but very infrequently. It was not like
But lots of people who are having lots of sex are also addicted to
Well, they can be now, but I do think I think even for like my generation, my male generation's experience of porn is so completely dramatically different to young lads now coming through who will have probably seen by the age of 18 the amount and the variety.
And women. 30 to 35% of Pornhub visitors are women, which I found a really shocking stat. So what are some of the signs that somebody is addicted?
Well, before we go there, this woman does say this, and I think it's important to say this because I think porn is a really problematic, and also there is the potential in porn for it to be quite useful or quite kind of, the question often asked is, can porn ever be undamaging? Can it ever be devoid from the kind of sense of exploitation? Is it always exploitative? She says not all porn, this sex therapist says, not all porn use is destructive. For every person who would even see their partner's occasional use of porn as cheating, there's a couple that likes to watch porn together as a healthy part of their sex life. A burgeoning reliance on any adult material, on the other hand, can be stopped in its must be stopped in its tracks before the foundations of a marriage are damaged. She says that it can be used. It can be erotica. It can be. They're
very differing thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I mean, some say any at all, like this article and this psychotherapist says any at all is damaging. I don't think that's true.
Yeah,
because I know plenty of people that dabble a bit, and it's a bit of a frisson and a bit of excitement, and it's not.
Yeah.
But they say it affects your brain.
Yeah, but I mean,
you can say that like having 5 drinks.
Yeah, exactly. But
it's not you're not gonna die of alcoholism.
No, exactly. You might have done some short-term brain damage and taken some selfies.
I think that's that's the equivalence that they're kind of talking
about. If
about.
someone were to use porn in a relationship with you, would you consider that to be a betrayal?
No.
Because a lot of people do.
Depends to what level.
Right. I mean, I remember someone who. And I remember them describing to me how their partner was worried about their porn usage. And I remember saying to this as a man, and I remember saying to them, I said, well, what's an average evening like? And he was like, well, we'd go home and we'd have dinner. We might watch something on telly, and then I'd say, oh, I'm going to go in the other room and watch some porn. And I was like,
oh no.
If I think about when I've used porn most, or when I've looked at it most, it's when I've been abroad, when I've been traveling, when I've been away. So it has been a sort of, what is it? Is it a way to kind of not feel so alone? Is it a way to, hang on, is it a way not to feel so stressed? I mean, they talk in this article about stress relief. Exactly. And it's when that stress relief becomes a constant thing. I mean, for example...
that's where you can tip in loneliness on loneliness on loneliness. So it's very. I think if porn had come with the availability that I know you say it's more and more difficult, but it's not really. It's not difficult. If you've got a credit card and you're over 18, it's easy, isn't it? And you can travel into whatever world you want, whatever worlds of degradation and like sadism, whatever. You can find it in a heartbeat on the internet now, and I think it makes everyone vulnerable to it because, like you say, one turns to drink, one turns to shopping, one turns to drugs, one can turn to anything to anaesthetise loneliness, stress, worry. So why would we think that human beings are any less vulnerable to porn?
Okay, so what are the signs that Dr. Hall says you should spot, that has learned about how to spot the signs of porn addiction? So number 1, there's a loss of interest in sex. I remember seeing one couple where the wife had been seriously ill with cancer. While she was in hospital, her husband started watching porn. What began as a healthy outlet at a time when his wife chose to refrain from sex quickly became a dependence.
So she's saying there was a point where it was healthy. She does. It was healthy at the beginning. But this is what I've got I'm a bit confused on. What I find confusing with these different articles that I'm reading, so she says there, what started off as healthy, well, what I would say is, if your wife has cancer or your partner has cancer and you start drinking in a healthy way to deal with those feelings of worry and would we ever say that was healthy? No. We wouldn't. Like, I never offer somebody a drink anymore. In the old days I would, when they're having a difficult time. I offer them a cup of tea and a chat. Because to offer somebody a drink when things are tough leaves them vulnerable to being that's the thing that they're going to go to when they're when things are tough. And so I feel it's the same with pornography. It's like if people reach for it in a vulnerable time, like you said, what is it because you're alone? Is it because you're stressed? Why would that be seen as healthy?
Did she say it was healthy?
Yeah, right at the beginning.
What began as a healthy as a healthy outlet for a client's sexuality. Yeah.
Then became a problem.
You see, this is where I don't disagree with her use of the term healthy. I mean, she says in the final piece here on the loss of interest, there's a myth that men turn to porn in midlife because their partners are going through the menopause and start to disengage from sex. She says, generally speaking, it's the other way round. The sex disappears, the woman feels neglected and starts digging, and then it comes out that there's been this ongoing porn use or infidelity or a mix of the two, often for years or even decades. This is from her experience. I mean,
I'm not saying she's wrong. What I'm saying is I find it confusing. I don't know what I think. I don't know whether I think that all porn is unhealthy or whatever. I'm just saying it seems odd to say what started off as a healthy thing then became a problem.
Yeah.
Because everything we know about addiction says if you medicate with something, you are at risk of it becoming, not always, but you are at risk of that becoming a medication that you use all the time. It sounds like to me, with pornography, just like some people can drink and never become addicts, some people can use pornography and become addicts. We know that. There's a massive problem with porn addiction. So I would say, we all say this often, don't we? If alcohol was to be introduced today into this world, there's no way it would be allowed to. But here we are. We've got the addiction and we're a nation of addicts of alcohol. And I think I'm coming to the conclusion that it's the same thing with porn.
Yes.
It's the same thing.
I think the thing with porn is I don't think porn's impact on the human has ever changed. I think we're under this kind of mythological idea that porn didn't exist prior to, dirty cinemas and Soho. There's always been some form. You only have to look at the Victorian era. People have always been getting their thrills somehow, and there's been pornography going for centuries. I think it's the capitalist aspect of it. It's the corporate
technology.
Aspect. It's the ability to create the equivalent or the metaphorical supermarket with every single type of it that renders even, I would argue, for my generation, there's even still a specialness about porn. There's a sort of, it's a bit, because it was so sort of rare. It was such a rarefied thing, even though I saw it too early in the wrong conditions, it wasn't prevalent everywhere. It wasn't everywhere. And
it's like everything now.
It's almost nostalgic.
Snacks. Nobody had snacks. We weren't given snacks. Now people have snacks every 10 minutes. Alcohol available 24/7 in supermarkets, pubs open. This is the same thing. And there are going to be many people that use it that don't become addicts, and there's going to be many people that do, and lives are destroyed over it.
And I agree, but I suppose what I find interesting is that I think the addiction aspect of porn is the same addiction issue with food, with drink. It's the corporate capitalist feed us more and more, be able to access it constantly. Whereas actually, I think outside of the conditions of being force-fed everything all the time so that we're all fucking awash with it all the time, I think actually porn, there was a time where porn wasn't so damaging. Could have been not so damaging. And I think it's now, it's like everything in life. It's just there's too much of everything and it's freely available. Number two, another sign that you could have a problem is you find yourself alone late at night. The "I was up late working" is a common lie told to hide porn addiction. It fits the narrative. Being in the same room as a computer until 2 a.m. is easily covered with the excuse that there's work that needs to be done.
Exactly like you when you used to drink when I'd go up to bed and you say I'm still doing work, and they'd come down the turntable to still be going. You'd be
annihilated drunk. Yeah. Wasn't watching porn.
Exactly the same as alcohol so far.
Hearing these kinds of phrases a few times a week is likely not indicative of a problem, but if it becomes a pattern, it may be worth investigating what's really going on after dark. The content watched becomes more and more extreme. This is something like, this is like the same argument in a sense about drugs, isn't it? You start with an access drug. And gateway drug, exactly. Gateway porn. I've never, in any of my casual porn use, ever been drawn to dark stuff. It's just not interested me. I've always preferred naturalistic. It's always been heterosexual. I'm not into BDSM. None of that stuff just does it for me. I like to
the searches for BDSM with women are huge.
I know. I mean, we should do a separate podcast just about what women search for. So I've never had that thing. So I've never really I've never really understood that. So I've never understood the idea that you could, even in a sort of, what's the word, when you're what's it called when you take drugs, even if you're a recreational porn user, that idea of going down a rabbit hole and it becoming, you go into deeper and darker. I've never understood. I've literally never understood that.
I mean,
and I guess it's about getting the same hit.
People. So say you discover that your partner is looking at stuff that they would never you would never in a million years thought they were into, right? It doesn't necessarily mean they're into it.
No.
That's the point.
Is
that people go for stories.
Yes.
Because there is still so much shame around sex, isn't there? So they go down a path to have a look at the stories that may have come to them, but it doesn't mean necessarily that's their thing. But again, that's where you can drop into danger, and you can just get further and further into it.
I was reading a piece recently about Denmark and the Danes, and they have a much more sort of liberal attitude to porn, a much more liberal attitude to the body. I worry that sometimes we hold porn in general, the very concept of porn, responsible for all of our own fuck-ups. We have such taboo, we construct such an irony, isn't it? That porn is one of the biggest industries on the planet, and yet everyone is involved in the business of hiding it and not talking about it.
The shame that's attached to
sex.
So
if you could remove the amount of shame that there is just in life towards sex, perhaps towards the body or something, that would help.
When you suppress, when you disallow, when there's shame involved, what happens? What's the whole tenet really of going to rehab? The whole tenet is to remove all shame. You have to admit to everything that you've ever done that was wrong, so that you didn't drink on that shame.
Yeah.
And it's a similar thing, I think. I think with sex, there's just still so much shame. We were talking about this today, and there's still so much shame.
And also, this therapist says that back in the 80s, 90s, more my generation, men would go to sex work when someone came in presenting with sex addiction. It wasn't porn addiction. It'd be usually affluent people addicted to kind of high class hookers and stuff like that. The number 4 in terms of other evidence that your partner might have a porn problem, your partner is protective of their phone. So secrecy around devices. When it comes to porn addiction, you'll often see secrecy around devices. Perhaps your partner no longer charges their phone on your side of the bed or takes it to the bathroom with you. Perhaps you never see their phone anymore.
You see, all these things are stuff that, all of these things would indicate an affair. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what most people are going to think, that you're having an affair. So, are you having an affair? If you are presenting with all those behaviours, not having sex with your partner, avoiding them, lying to them, having orgasms over somebody else, sounds like cheating, right?
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
So why do we all say, oh no, I don't think it's as bad as cheating? It's not cheating, that's what I always say.
It's odd, isn't it?
Denial ain't just a river in Egypt.
Oh, well, the last one is excuses and denials are commonplace.
Because it was quite interesting when I was trying to explain to you the comparisons to alcohol and addiction, and you just couldn't understand it. Not because you're in denial, you haven't got porn addiction or anything like that, but it was really interesting how deep possibly the brainwashing around pornography is. Why wouldn't I feel that you cheated on me if I found all of those reasons that you just described there? That's the same as cheating, because you're still going to, as the partner, have all those feelings of like loss and confusion and insecurity and betrayal.
Yeah.
And yet somewhere along the lines we're made to think, and I've had many conversations, oh come on, don't you can't say that's cheating. Well, who's told us that? Who's manipulated us into going, it's like bring back the bush when you talk to young people. They go, no, I'm not supposed to have any hair because it's clean for me. Well, drill into that. Who's told you that? And who's told us, you and me, and I'm not just saying just women, that isn't cheating? Because everything you described there is like cheating.
No, and I agree. And on that note, it's interesting you should say that, because I think if I possibly not so much now than when I was younger, if a partner of mine I knew was going to porn, I would have felt that as a betrayal. I would have felt like I wasn't.
But you wouldn't have thought you were betraying them if you went to porn.
No, I wouldn't, and that is a huge contradiction. So of course, no, that's what I'm saying.
It's interesting.
I'm saying it's not right. I'm not saying it's
no,
right.
No, I know
I'm,
you're
I'm,
not.
I'm
So it's
saying that
interesting.
if a partner had done it away, but I would have seen it as a betrayal. I'd have seen it in terms of what am I not being able to do? What am I not providing? What am I lacking in my in conjunction to this person? What am I not giving them?
So no different from if you found out that
No,
had sex with
exactly,
somebody else.
exactly,
Interesting.
exactly. And yet, I suppose still, even though I'd feel all those things, the fact that it is porn does somehow mediate it. I think the fact that it's happening on a screen mediates it to some
Because that's
extent.
what we've been conditioned to think.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not the same.
But
if you're losing whole evenings away from your partner and they're going into another room to watch it, or they're scurrying off into a toilet, or they're going, that's betrayal.
Well, when this person I knew told me that, I literally was agog. I was shocked. I was horrified. And I remember thinking to myself, my God, if I had say one of my daughters came to me and said, oh, my partner, I would be appalled. I would be absolutely appalled if they were...
Well, one of our daughters, when I had a conversation with her around this, she categorically, and I'm only thinking about it now because at the time I said to her, oh God, I don't think so. It's not infidelity. She was categoric that it was infidelity.
Wow, I remember the occasion.
And I'm going to have the conversation again with her now, and I'm going to say, you know what, me and Daddy had this conversation. You're right, it is. It is. It's infidelity.
Oh my God, you've gone on a journey.
Well, no, what's the point of having a fucking conversation?
So if I was to look at some porn tomorrow, you'd see it as an infidelity?
No.
Oh.
I wouldn't, because I'm conditioned. We've both come through a generation where
Right.
I'm not going to undo that conditioning,
Right.
but I'm not going to stop my daughter from thinking that way.
Right.
Because she isn't conditioned in the way we are.
Right, okay. I just wanted, because I'm just looking at the end of this article, and she does say something here about porn use as infidelity in its own right. Infidelity is a word that means something very different to every single person that walks through my doors. All couples have very different lines of where infidelity lies, and they know that those can never be crossed if their relationships to remain intact. In some relationships, pornography can feature within the relationship and that line isn't crossed. I mean, I suppose if you were to come to me and say, oh, do you fancy sitting down and watching some porn tonight? I would see the suggestion of that as being like, you know, how some people say, oh, should we dress up? Or it's part of the set dressing of getting erotic and aroused. I wouldn't see it, and I would find it quite exciting.
But if you walked in, you'd been out and you came in and I was sat here watching it on my phone.
Yeah.
I'd
probably find that exciting too. I think the problem is I'd find everything with you exciting.
Well, I don't know that you would.
Not as much.
Go to your honest, truthful
No, all right.
self.
I'd smash the joint up and I'd fucking slam my head onto a spike and I'd run down the street. Quite upset.
I think there'd be two different reactions. So say you came in and I was watching porn on there and I turned around and I went, oh my God, look at this, come and join me.
Yes.
You would. Whereas if I was like trying to panic
and hide it,
that means it was
there's obviously you've got a problem with
shame, that. Or shame, not always just excluded, or feeling ashamed.
Or you're hiding something.
Some people will get together, will get married and not realise that they have completely different sexual
appetites.
Not even necessarily appetite, things that turn them on. So if you really can't do the thing that turns you on with your partner, is it wrong to watch the thing that really turns you on?
God, there's a cornucopia of new avenues to go down.
It's a huge topic. We shouldn't have tried to do it in a podcast. It's too much.
Okay. Well, should we go upstairs and have a look
Can
at
I
something?
say that at some points there you were being really, really, really impenetrable
I beg your pardon?
in your thinking, going, I don't understand.
No, hang on, babe. You never ever seem to... Can I just say, is this a male-female thing? That maybe you just at that point, I was really listening.
No, you weren't. When I was going the other way, I know when you're not listening. You were not listening. The first time you didn't listen at all. Go back. It's at about 14 and a half minutes. Go back and have a look.
Get your credit card out. Let's go and watch some porn.
And you're going to see that you were not listening.
Okay.
Next time we do a podcast, what do you have to do? Put on your listening ears, as they say at primary school.
Shut up.
Do you remember that? Put your listening...
No, I don't.
Oh, it was on... We watched Four Lions again the other night. Have you seen Four Lions, guys? If you haven't seen it, and he goes, "Where's your listeners?"
I've got my confused face on now.
Yeah, the Rubber Dinghy Rapids.
I've got my confused face
I've got my listening ears on now.
If you like that, hit the like button, subscribe, do everything else. Lots of love.